Imagine discovering a vintage Paris apartment that appears modest from the outside, yet reveals an interior filled with thoughtful proportions, beautiful craftsmanship, and remarkable spatial intelligence. We step inside a Petite Parisian home where every architectural decision makes limited space feel surprisingly generous. From the street, the building immediately carries the unmistakable character of historic Paris. A refined stone facade, tall windows, traditional shutters, and carefully preserved architectural proportions create an exterior that feels connected to another era, establishing the vintage atmosphere before we even cross the threshold. The entrance begins with a beautifully aged door that introduces the home's personality. Its classic proportions, understated hardware, and weathered surface demonstrate how vintage elements can create character without overwhelming a small residence, giving the apartment an authentic sense of history from the very beginning. Inside, the entryway immediately demonstrates one of the home's most important design principles: visual continuity. Rather than filling this compact area with unnecessary furniture, the design allows architectural lines, pale surfaces, and natural light to establish an uninterrupted transition toward the main living spaces. The apartment's original architecture provides the framework for everything that follows. Tall doors, generous ceiling proportions, decorative moldings, aged flooring, and carefully preserved details create vertical and horizontal rhythms that make the petite footprint feel more substantial than its actual dimensions suggest. The living room is where the transformation becomes especially apparent. Instead of attempting to make the space appear larger through excessive decoration, the interior uses carefully scaled furniture, open circulation, and restrained placement to preserve generous visual breathing room around every important element. Classic French doors contribute enormously to the feeling of openness. Their height draws the eye upward while their glass panels allow daylight to travel deeper into the apartment. In a petite home, this simple architectural feature becomes an important tool for expanding the perceived boundaries. Every piece of furniture seems selected with unusual precision. A vintage armchair, compact sofa, delicate side table, or antique cabinet can bring personality without consuming the room. The secret is not having fewer beautiful objects, but choosing pieces whose proportions respect the architecture. The color palette continues this strategy with soft, timeless tones. Warm whites, muted creams, gentle beige, faded natural wood, and subtle vintage accents create continuity between rooms. Instead of dividing the apartment visually, the colors allow individual spaces to feel like parts of one coherent composition. Light becomes one of the apartment's most valuable architectural materials. Daylight enters through the tall Parisian windows and gently moves across walls, flooring, furniture, and decorative details. The changing illumination throughout the day gives the small home a sense of movement and depth. Looking upward reveals another important spatial advantage. The ceiling is treated as an active part of the design rather than an overlooked surface. Moldings, pendant lighting, and vertical architectural details encourage the eye to travel upward, making the rooms feel taller and more expansive. The kitchen demonstrates how practical functions can be integrated without sacrificing the vintage identity of the apartment. Compact cabinetry, carefully selected materials, and efficient positioning create a workspace that feels complete while maintaining enough visual openness for the surrounding living area. Rather than introducing an overly contemporary kitchen, the design incorporates materials that communicate warmth and continuity. Natural wood, understated stone, traditional hardware, and softly aged finishes allow the kitchen to belong naturally within the historic Parisian architecture surrounding it. Moving deeper into the apartment reveals how circulation has been carefully considered. Walkways remain visually clear, furniture does not unnecessarily interrupt movement, and sightlines connect one room to another. This creates an important illusion. The apartment feels larger because the eye can travel farther. The dining corner proves that a petite home does not need a dedicated oversized dining room. A modest table, beautifully proportioned chairs, and carefully positioned lighting establish an intimate dining experience while preserving enough surrounding space for movement and visual balance. Mirrors are introduced with restraint, serving both decorative and spatial purposes. Positioned thoughtfully across from windows or along important sightlines, they reflect daylight and architectural details, creating the impression of additional depth without changing the physical dimensions of the apartment. The bedroom shifts the atmosphere towards something quieter and more intimate. Soft textiles, vintage furniture, warm natural materials, and gentle lighting create a peaceful retreat. Even within a compact footprint, the room maintains enough breathing space to avoid feeling crowded. Linen, cotton, faded upholstery, woven textures, and softly patterned fabrics introduce tactile richness. These materials prevent the pale interior from feeling sterile while reinforcing the home's vintage French character, proving that warmth can come from texture as much as from color. The bathroom continues the dialogue between history and practicality. Traditional-inspired fixtures, classic surfaces, restrained colors, and carefully selected hardware create a space that feels connected to the rest of the apartment rather than appearing like an isolated modern installation. As daylight fades, the apartment reveals another personality. Warm lamps, subtle wall lighting, and carefully positioned decorative fixtures create pools of illumination rather than flooding every surface with harsh brightness. This layered approach makes the petite home feel intimate, atmospheric, and beautifully cinematic. Perhaps the most memorable quality of this home is that everything does not look perfectly new. Aged wood, Softened finishes, vintage objects, and traces of time give the apartment a sense of authenticity. These imperfections make the interior feel collected rather than manufactured. The apartment succeeds because it does not attempt to recreate the past literally. Instead, historic architecture is allowed to coexist with modern comfort. Contemporary functionality quietly supports the vintage character, creating a home that feels both rooted in Parisian history and completely livable today. One of the most important lessons here is the value of vertical space. Tall shelving, high curtains, elevated artwork, vertical doors, and ceiling details draw attention upward. When floor space is limited, using the walls and ceiling effectively can dramatically change how spacious a room feels. Perhaps surprisingly, one of the strongest design decisions is what has been left out. Empty areas around furniture, clear pathways, unobstructed windows, and quiet corners allow the architecture to breathe. In a petite apartment, negative space becomes just as important as decoration. By combining proportion, light, continuity, storage, vertical emphasis, and carefully selected vintage furnishings, this Parisian home creates an experience that cannot be understood through measurements alone. Its physical size may be petite, but its visual rhythm and emotional atmosphere feel remarkably generous. Ultimately, this vintage Paris apartment proves that a small home can possess an extraordinary sense of character, comfort, and visual depth. From its historic exterior to its carefully composed interior, every detail contributes to a timeless Parisian experience where thoughtful design allows a petite home to feel surprisingly spacious.